Hello everybody, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Gio, and today we have extra noises. Not only do I have my snoring dog, but they're doing road work outside. So we have a little extra help with the background ambience today. Anyway, let's get started with today's story. It's called Summer Romance. At midnight, I texted, "I'm here." I stood by the old whitewashed gate, waiting. A full moon shone above, making the sands on the beach glow a little, and the white crests of the waves shimmer. It was a clear April night. If it weren't for the moonlight, I'd see a sky full of stars. A cool breeze nipped my neck like a lover, and I shivered in spite of the heavy wool sweater I'm wearing. I carried 2 small packages. One was wrapped in green paper with a red bow. The other I left in my pocket so I wouldn't lose it. My name is Hudson, like the river in New York. I'm named after my grandfather, who said that he would remember my parents in his will if they named a son after him. My grandfather told me later that he was only joking, but they took him serious. I'm at grandfather's estate on the coast of Maine, where I have come every summer for the last few years. My grandfather and I get along great. My grandfather and my parents, they get along fine, face to face, because my parents think he will give them a bigger inheritance. The man I loved, Julian, said to wait for him here because he had something special to give me. My first thought was a bottle of wine. My second was a rare coin. He knew how much I loved old silver dollars. My oldest was a Morgan dollar from 1880. I had a lot of peace dollars too, and some Eisenhowers, and some silver eagles. Julian had gifted me a 1922 D peace dollar. I showed grandfather, and he found me a special plastic holder. Maybe Julian would surprise me with a midnight picnic on the beach. Both of his parents were professional chefs at the Grand Coast restaurant, and he had learned a thing or two from them about cooking. A midnight picnic on the beach was how he said goodbye last time we saw each other. Come to think of it, that's how we met. At a picnic. I just graduated high school and was too afraid for anyone to learn I was gay. I wasn't only in the closet, I had welded iron bars on it to keep me from coming out. 5 years ago, I stood by the same old whitewashed gate, wearing sandals and swim trunks, holding a towel and a cola. We had just arrived at my grandparents' estate, and while Mom and Dad pretended to make nice with my grandparents, I escaped to the beach out back. It was a classic Maine summer day, warm, breezy. About half the sky was covered with clouds. A bunch of people sunbathed or threw a ball or frisbee. Guys flirted with girls, girls flirted with guys. I didn't know anyone. Shy? Introverted? Terrified? All of the above. But visiting the beach was better than listening to my parents act like hypocrites. I leaned on the old gate, watching the world have fun, and wishing I could join in. There was this one guy I couldn't stop looking at. I guess they were playing tag, but with a frisbee. He wore yellow shorts with a single red vertical stripe. Jumping and screaming, he caught the frisbee and sent it to somebody else. Flaxen hair, tan skin, and laughing. How I wanted to be him. How I wanted to know him. "Go say hi," a voice said behind me. "Grandfather?" I said. "He looks like a nice guy," grandfather said. "Go say hi." "I'm not gay," I said very quickly. So quickly I think it came out as, "I'm not gay." "You seem to think it's something to be ashamed of," Grandfather said, and leaned on the gate next to me. "I think you should be proud of it." All those years I pretended to be straight, hadn't fooled him. There was this part of me that wanted to run and scream and deny it as loud as I could. But there was another part that felt relieved. I finally had someone I could talk to. "You know about me?" I said. When? When did you learn?" "Does it matter? Stop denying who you are and go say hi," Grandfather said. "He's probably straight," I said. "Does it matter?" Grandfather said again. "Let me give you some incentive. We both like old coins, right?" "Yes, Grandfather," I said. "I have an extra 1880 San Francisco Morgan silver dollar. It's yours if you go up and talk to Julian." "Julian?" I said. "His family lives 2 houses down. Nice people," Grandfather said. "I can't tell you if he's gay or straight, but I can tell you that the longer you sit here staring at him, the less time you have to go talk to him." "I can't go up to him," I said. "We don't know each other." Grandfather opened the gate. "I'll have the coin for you by dinner." Somewhere between scared to death and so excited I almost skipped, I ran to the group playing frisbee. "Mind if I join in?" I asked the guys, especially Julian. "Sure, I'm Julian," and he introduced everybody. "I'm Hudson. That's my grandfather over there," I said, and looked back. Grandfather was smiling. He nodded and walked up the path back to their house. We threw the frisbee a while, then we had a picnic. Grandfather handed me the coin, sealed in a plastic case, when I finally came in. Nobody asked us why we laughed. I think Grandmother knew because she patted me on the back and whispered, "That's my grandson." But my parents were too busy with something else. The last day of the trip, my parents were busy being nice, but I walked down the beach to Julian's house. I'd learned he liked old movies, was my age, and wasn't dating anyone. I didn't know if he liked guys like I liked guys. He came outside and we walked on the beach. "I came to say goodbye," I said. How could I ask what I wanted? What if he rejected me? "How come you're so nervous?" Julian said. "It's because I had a lot of fun this summer," I said. This was the first time I had ever told anyone about me. "I really like you, and I want to keep in touch. Would you mind?" "What's the deal?" he said. "I really like you," I said. I remembered what my grandfather had said and tried to be proud of myself. Instead, I stared at the ground. I guess I don't get points for originality. "I'm gay, and I really, really like you. I know I'll be a long ways away, but I want to get to know you." Julian smiled and took my hand. "I'd like that." We called or texted every week. We didn't call daily until later. I walked him through a complete relationship that had gone bad and the heartbreak when it broke down. He did the same for me. If my parents suspected I was gay, we never talked about it. Once, I tried. "Mom, can I talk to you about life? Did you know I liked guys?" I said. "That's nice," she said, not even looking up from her computer. "But it's not something we need to talk about. Just keep it to yourself." They preferred not talking about the deep stuff. For that, I talked to Grandfather. He became more of a father than my dad. When I returned to Maine, Julian was with my grandparents waiting for me. My grandparents pretended not to notice our first hug, but I caught Grandmother smiling. I found a coin catalog on my pillow that night, and a book about Morgan dollars. A card next to it said, "We always did have trouble with dates. Happy birthday. P.S. We're proud of you. You should be too." Those next 2 weeks went by too fast. It was our second picnic on the beach, and I showed Julian all the coins I had collected. It was only 10, but the 1880 Morgan silver dollar was my favorite. All the kids on the beach knew me as Julian's long-distance, sometimes boyfriend. The night before we left, I walked Julian to his place, and when no one was around, I kissed him. It lasted less than half a second, but in my head, it lasted 5 minutes. Julian smiled and kissed me back. My parents were once again too busy acting nice to my grandfather. Grandmother noticed the way I floated and the way I grinned at any stupid thing. Grandfather only chuckled. Grandmother made me cookies to take with me when I left. That year, on my birthday, I received a package from Julian. That was the year he gave me the peace dollar. I had a feeling Grandfather helped him pick it out. Last summer, we did everything together. The guys called us the power couple because we were inseparable. Julian's parents invited me over for dinner. My grandparents invited Julian over for dinner. We were always holding hands or kissing. We had many picnics on the beach and a few barbecues. I came back for a week at Christmas and surprised Julian. He cried and wouldn't stop holding me. Even though it was cold, we built a fire on the beach and had our picnic for New Year's Eve, and we roasted marshmallows. Everybody joined us. Finally, it was only us, and we stayed up all night talking and watched the sun come up. Grandmother made some Swedish dish with eggs, and then it was time for the trip to the airport. Mom and Dad couldn't wait to get away. I couldn't wait to return to Julian. Now I'm back. A slight noise came from my right. The man I loved approached with a huge basket. He had made us a midnight picnic on the beach, just like always. "Julian," I said, "can I help you with that?" Julian, the man I love. He had a new hairstyle. His flaxen-colored hair trimmed short on the sides, long on top, and swept across part of his face, from left to right. New clothes, too. He wore a black linen shirt open at the neck, khaki pants, and sandals. The slight breeze ruffled his clothes and hair. He smiled when he saw me, revealing his dimpled cheeks. "Hudson, it's so good to see you." Julian set the basket down and kissed me. We hadn't seen each other since New Year's, but we had talked or texted daily. Our relationship was very long distance and very long term. "How long are you here?" Julian asked. "The next semester starts in 2 weeks," I said, "but I'm thinking of taking the summer off this year." Julian and I carried the basket to a midpoint on the deserted beach, and Julian pulled a blanket out and spread it on the sands. I ran across the beach and found some dry driftwood. When I returned, Julian had unloaded several containers from the basket and a few glass-encased candles, which he had lit and set around the blanket. "It looks romantic," I said. "That's because I feel romantic," Julian said. "Get the fire started. I brought marshmallows." I made a shallow fire pit in the sand, surrounded it with a few stones, and laid the logs inside. Julian had brought lighter fluid, and in minutes we had a fire to warm the chill air. His hand found mine, and he held it. I inched my body closer to his until our shoulders touched. "I'm glad I came back," I whispered, and handed Julian the present. "I know it's really late, but happy birthday." He opened it, and in the light of his phone, Julian read the title, Rage of the Werewolf. That's a classic, 1982, only released on DVD for a very limited time. How did you find it? "I won the bid," I said. "Do you want to watch it with me tomorrow night?" Julian asked. What time? I asked, but I didn't give Julian a chance to answer. It had been months since I had seen him. We lightly kissed, giggled, and rolled together. Our kiss became more intense, and Julian left my lips to nibble on my ear. I laid down and let him. I missed you, Julian whispered. Not as much as I missed you, I whispered back. Our mouths found each other again. I slid a hand inside the warmth of Julian's shirt. Why don't we take a leisurely drive tomorrow? We'll follow the coastal road, you and me. Maybe we'll go up to Ash Hollow and Cape Sodhurst, see the lighthouse. Trying to get away from it all, Julian said. He rolled us until we lay side by side and stared at each other. We have a lot of time to make up for, I said, and kissed his nose. It's beautiful up there, Julian said, and shivered. Imagine sitting on the cliffs, watching the sunrise. You should have worn more than that, I said. This time of night is cold out here. I guess we'll have to get closer to the fire, and you'll have to keep me warm, he said, biting his lip. Julian sat up and pulled a couple of skewers out of the basket, some large marshmallows, chocolate, and graham crackers. I took a marshmallow and whispered, "Open wide." Julian did, and I stuffed the marshmallow between his lips. Then I leaned in and bit it in half. I never had a marshmallow kiss before. We skewered a couple of marshmallows and roasted them over the fire, while we tried the marshmallow kiss again. The smell of burnt sugar filled the night air. Crap, Julian said, breaking free of our kiss. It's burning. He made a mad grab for his fiery marshmallow and blew it out. I grabbed a couple of graham crackers and some chocolate and sandwiched the marshmallow inside. He took a bite. I took a bite. And it was a melted marshmallowy and chocolatey kiss this time. We both giggled. I love you, I said. Julian put his finger in the melted chocolate and wiped it on my nose. Oops. How can I tell you how much I love you when you're all dirty? Let me clean that off. We both knew it was just an excuse to kiss my nose, and that's where he was kissing me when we heard, "Excuse me, gentlemen." Both Jillian and I looked over. "Grandfather," I said, "it's midnight. What are you doing up?" "Your grandmother and I saw your fire from the window, and we came to investigate," Grandfather said. "You two didn't waste any time." "It's been too long since we've been together. Hold still, Hudson," Jillian said, wiping the last of the chocolate from my nose. "I brought extra marshmallows, sir, if you'd like to join us." "It's a beautiful night tonight, and we'd love the company," I said. "Neither of you want anyone around," Grandfather said, chuckling. "You're both polite liars. Thank you for the invite. I'd love to warm myself by the fire before I go inside, but I have to go. Your grandmother is waiting for me. Somehow, your mom and dad found a copy of my will and are upset. They thought they deserved more and told me." I wasn't sure whether to be embarrassed or enraged. Fortunately, Julian glanced at me to see if it was okay, and he said, "I'm sorry about that, sir. Stay with us for a little while." "Grandfather, sit down and enjoy the night with us," I said. Grandfather said, eyebrows raising, "Maybe for 10 minutes, then I'll let you two get back to your date." "Then I need to hurry," I said. "Julian, I have something else I want to give you. Did you know that the only reason I had the courage to come talk to you was because Grandfather gave it to me?" "No," he said. "You'll have to tell me that story." "Someday," I said. "But since he was there for the beginning, it's only fair he sees this part." "What do you mean?" Grandfather said. I pulled the package out of my pocket and opened it. A ring box with the ring. I took Julian's left hand. "Do you think we could make it work if we were a lot closer to each other? Say, living together?" I slid the ring on his hand. "Wait a minute," Grandfather said. "You're not doing this right now." Both Julian and I stiffened and stared at him. "Grandfather?" I asked. He waved back at the gate. "Wait till your grandmother gets here." She walked up in her nightgown and took my grandfather's hand. Grandfather rubbed the ring on it. Her eyebrows raised as she saw that I was holding Julian's hand, and it had a ring. She smiled. Grandfather chuckled and then kissed grandmother's hand. "Now it's time," my grandfather said. "Julian," I asked, "will you marry me?" Julian dipped his finger in the chocolate and wiped it on my lips. I can't say yes to a dirty mouth. Let me clean it up first. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate it. Have a wonderful day. Peace.